The entire country knows that Delhi looks breathtakingly beautiful in the biting cold. But with this cold comes a thick fog, a dense mist that blankets the entire city like a shroud. But what if this fog brings something that changes your life forever? Today's story is about Ryan and his friends. Frustrated with Delhi's rising pollution, they decided to take a break and planned a trip to Himachal. 3 days later, they hired a cab and left at 4 a.m. for their journey. The driver who came to pick them up was cheerful and friendly, and soon he became quite close to the group. For hours into their journey, at 8 a.m., the sky was still dark. Suddenly, they saw an incredibly dense fog ahead, so thick that the road ahead was completely invisible. Ryan noticed a strange change in their driver's demeanor. The cheerful man now looked tense, as if he had seen a ghost. Ryan assumed the driver was just nervous about driving in the fog. Placing a reassuring hand on his shoulder, he said, "Don't worry, brother. Just drive slowly, and we'll get through this fog." But the driver looked at Ryan with terrified eyes and whispered in a shaky voice, "I beg you, when we enter the fog, do not open the car windows. No matter what happens, do not open them." Ryan and his friends chuckled at the driver's superstitions, dismissing them as baseless fears. Soon, their car entered the fog. It was much denser than they had imagined. The driver kept moving forward cautiously, but nothing was visible ahead. Suddenly, Lisa, who was sitting in the back, started feeling uneasy. She gasped for air, unable to breathe properly. Panicking, she forgot the driver's warning and rolled down the car window. The moment she did, she stuck her head outside, desperate for fresh air. As soon as Lisa inhaled, she felt relief. But the fog had now entered the car. Within seconds, when Lisa looked back inside, her heart nearly stopped. The car was still moving on the road, but Ryan, Sam, and the driver were gone. She was alone. Lisa's breath caught in her throat. The car was still driving itself. She tried to open the door to jump out, but it was locked. No matter how hard she pulled, it wouldn't budge. She screamed at the top of her lungs. And then, suddenly, the car slowed down and came to a stop. The doors unlocked on their own. Without thinking, Lisa pushed the door open and ran out. But outside, there was nothing but the endless fog. She screamed for help, her heart pounding so hard she thought it would explode. Then, in the distance, she saw a shadow. It was tall, unnaturally tall, like a giant standing amidst the fog. Lisa ran toward the figure, hoping for help. But no matter how fast she ran, she never got any closer. It remained just as far as before. Before she could process what was happening, she felt something, someone, standing right behind her. Fear paralyzed her. Slowly, with trembling hands, she turned around, and what she saw made her blood run cold. A towering, 12-foot tall black figure loomed over her. Its presence sent chills down her spine. Before she could react, she felt an invisible force push her violently. She lost her balance and collapsed to the ground. The next moment, Lisa woke up inside the car. Ryan, Sam, and the driver were still there, staring at her with panic-stricken faces. She had been unconscious the moment she opened the window. The driver had screamed at Sam to shut it immediately. Ryan and Sam were shaking her awake while the driver kept muttering, "The window should never have been opened. Never." Ryan was furious now. He believed the driver was just making things worse with his paranoia. Lisa needed medical help. "Step on the gas and get us out of here," he snapped. The driver obeyed and sped forward. But within seconds, a girl suddenly appeared in front of the speeding car. The driver hit the brakes too late, and the car crashed into her. Ryan's heart stopped. He rushed out to check on her. The girl lay on the road, covered in blood. Trembling, Ryan turned her over to see her face. And then, his soul nearly left his body. The girl was Lisa. Ryan's mind reeled. How was this possible? Lisa was in the car just moments ago. In a frenzy, he ran back to the car. But when he looked inside, it was empty. There was no one inside. Terrified, he lifted Lisa's body and placed her in the back seat. He jumped into the driver's seat and sped through the fog. But just as he thought he had escaped, The same 12-foot-tall black figure appeared right in front of the moving car. Ryan lost control of the steering wheel. The car veered off the road and crashed into a tree. The next morning, the wrecked vehicle was found on the roadside. Ryan, Lisa, Sam, and the driver had all survived. But the horror of that night never left them. Ryan suffered a severe head injury, which affected his mental stability. And Lisa, she was never the same again. Everywhere she looked, she saw the same towering black shadow watching her. So next time you're driving through the fog, make sure you never open your car window. You never know what might enter. The vanishing train. It was a cold winter night. Sam, Lily, and Eric boarded an overnight train to a small town. The train was old but comfortable, with dim yellow lights flickering overhead. The rhythmic sound of the wheels on the tracks made them drowsy. As the train passed through a dense forest, the outside world grew darker. Around 3 a.m., Sam woke up feeling uneasy. The air inside the train had turned icy cold. He glanced at the window. A thick, unnatural fog had swallowed the train. The flickering lights made eerie shadows dance on the walls. Sam turned to wake Lily and Eric, but their seats were empty. He called out their names. Silence. The train compartment was completely deserted. His heartbeat quickened as he moved through the train, opening doors one by one. No passengers. No conductor. No staff. The train was moving, yet he was the only one left. As he reached the last compartment, Sam stopped. A figure stood at the end of the corridor. A tall, shadowy man in an old conductor's uniform, staring at him with hollow, glowing eyes. His face was pale and expressionless, his uniform dusty as if he had been standing there for centuries. The conductor raised a hand and pointed at Sam. His voice was barely a whisper. "You shouldn't be here." Suddenly, the train screeched to a halt. Sam staggered forward as the lights flickered violently. He ran to the window trying to see outside, but there was nothing, just endless, swirling fog. Sam turned back to find the conductor had disappeared. He rushed to the exit and forced the door open. A chilling wind blew inside as he stepped onto the ground. The station was old and abandoned, covered in dust and cobwebs. The train stood still, its engine silent. A signboard nearby read, "Raven Hollow Station, closed since 1932. Sam turned back towards the train, hoping to find a clue about his missing friends. But his blood ran cold. The train was gone. There were no tracks, no signs of any train ever being there. Just empty land and an old, broken railway sign. Sam heard whispers in the fog, familiar voices. Lily, Eric, calling his name. He ran toward the voices. The fog thickened, wrapping around him like a living thing. Then, everything went black. The next morning, the railway staff found a single backpack at the abandoned station. There was no sign of Sam. The train he spoke of hadn't existed for over 90 years. Some say that if you board a train at exactly 3 a.m. and fall asleep, you might wake up alone, surrounded by fog, and a conductor from another world, waiting to take you somewhere unknown. Would you dare to take the journey?